Welcome to Sense of Style. I'm Stuart. Anybody can just go to their local drugstore, pay a lot of money, and pick up the most popular fragrance there is. This list is not just for anybody. It's for those who have seen more, done more, and expect more. It's for those who are experienced. Starting with Guerlain Lumidial Extreme. Now, even if you are an experienced fragrance person, there's a good possibility you haven't even tried this, despite the fact that this was Fragrance of the Year on Fragrantica in 2020. And that's because if you're looking at the Lumidial line, chances are you're looking at the Eau de Parfum. This is by far the most popular fragrance in the line. And if you're second in a line, chances are you're going to get overlooked, and that's what's happened here. Lumidial Extreme is a great fragrance in its own right. So how do the two compare? Well, this is vanilla and that famous cherry note. And then you're going to get almond, which is the key to the line, and leather. This, however, is plum, cinnamon, almond, and leather. So the scent profile is similar, but the big key is the vanilla. The vanilla here makes the fragrance a lot more dense. There's also tonka in this as well. So it is a more dense, a heavier fragrance. This, on the other hand, gets the sweetness from that plum note. It's a fruit, so it's a lighter scent overall. And I think that's as important as anything when it comes to comparing these two fragrances. That's the big difference. The scent profile is similar. In fact, these are a lot closer to one another than they are to the original EDT, which I owned for many years. Being a little bit lighter has its positives and negatives. The positives. First of all, you can wear it in more situations. I think of the EDP as a fall-winter scent. That's a heavy vanilla note. That's a dense fragrance. This, on the other hand, I think of it like in terms of like ideal seasons is more of a spring-fall. Even though it's sweet, you can still get away with some kind of coolness with the spring and even in summer evenings, maybe even early winter. So I think ideally you can wear this in more situations. The negatives, however, is that the EDP, very good projection, very good longevity, and this is good projection, good longevity. However, don't think that this is a poor performing fragrance. I've seen people say that after trying and comparing it to the EDP. That is not true. This is fully tested. The performance is fine. I'm giving it a good rating, but it's not quite as strong as the EDP, but it's still something, especially on a warm climate, that you need to pick up or at least consider. I learned very quickly that when it comes to making videos on YouTube, titles are everything. And I also learned that using one wrong word can cut your views in half. I learned that word, gentleman. As soon as I put that in there, my views, at least half. The same thing, though, applies, I think, to fragrances. Because if you have a certain word in your fragrance name, that is going to lower the amount of people that try it, and it's going to lower the rating and how it's perceived. And that word is oud, because I think Versace Oud Noir, it's got a 4.22 rating on Fragrantica, which is ridiculous. The flood of younger viewers to Fragrantica has bumped the ratings right up. A lot of fragrances are 4, 4, 4, 5. This is 4.22. That's ridiculous. This is way better than that. But as soon as people see oud, they're not even going to try it. Versace did everything in their power to make this oud accessible. They paired it with a whole bunch of fresh notes. You've got olibanum, that's a fresh resin. You've got saffron and black pepper, fresh spices. You've got orange and neroli, citrus freshness. So it is a fresh, accessible oud. I think the key, though, to me, is the amount of cardamom you get here. So you get a warm, spicy element with that cardamom that makes it date nighty. Like you get the oud, a little bit of oud early on, and you do notice it. You get the oud experience, but as the fragrance evolves, it gets really nice and very date nighty, and I think it's underappreciated, underserved. So we've established that Lumidial Extreme, even though it was Fragrance of the Year in 2020, is a little bit underserved because it's the second most popular fragrance in the line. Well, I think that also applies to Parfums de Marly's Althair, because this was a Fragrance of the Year in 2024. And I heard a lot about it last year, but that's really died down. I mean, it's the same thing with Extreme, because if people are going to buy a fragrance, In the Ideal line, they're going to buy the EDP. Same thing here. If they're going to buy a Parfum de Marly, they're going to buy Leighton. And some people might even buy Herod. I like this more than Leighton, to be perfectly honest. Although I think I prefer Herod a little more, but this one is really good itself, and I don't think it's going to get tried enough. I like the fact that it's got many different kinds of sweetness. Candied almonds and praline, so like nutty sweetness. Vanilla, that famous Parfum de Marly, Madagascar-sourced bourbon vanilla, tonka, and then you've even got some ambroxan, so some fresh sweetness. Cinnamon, cardamom, spiciness, but I think the key to this fragrance is the orange blossom and the bergamot. It gives it a little bit of freshness, a little bit of a floral feel that you're not going to get with a lot of gourmands. Good performance too, by the way. I got a little quiz for you. When I say the word Lalique, what's the first fragrance that comes to mind? I can almost guarantee it's something in the Encre Noir line. I have 7 Lalique fragrances. They're all very woody, just like the Encre Noir line, but the best fragrance is very different, and it's completely overshadowed because it kind of doesn't fit. It's Ombra Noir by Lalique, because this, I mean, I'm not going to call it a gourmand, but there's so many gourmandy elements to it. Hear me out. Fig, mint, cinnamon, cognac, and it even has tonka. Tonka in a Lalique fragrance, which is very woody? Yes, tonka. So everything there is consumable. It's also got a nice resinous sweetness, and I think that's probably the main reason why I wouldn't call it a true gourmand, but I do think it has many gourmandy elements to it. I think if people are thinking about gourmands, generally, you know, you're going to spend a lot of money. They're really trendy right now, but you could save an absolute fortune by trying this one. Fragrance number 5 isn't overshadowed, although it does fit the theme because it's a fragrance that was made popular by men who knew better. And that fragrance is Mercedes-Benz Club Black. Now, in the early 2010s, Mercedes-Benz wanted to get into more of a lifestyle brand situation, right? So they just associated with cars, they wanted to do a whole bunch of other things. They had like sweatshirts and hats and bags, all kinds of things like that. And one of the things they got into was fragrances. Now, they were smart with fragrances because everything else at this point is gone. It didn't work, but the fragrances did because they put a lot of money and they went to INCC Parfums, which is associated with a lot of top perfumers, and the fragrance ended up working out really well. This thing is seen as something of a classic. The problem is it wasn't initially. This fragrance was made 100% by the YouTube fragrance community. It came out in 2017, but this really didn't get any traction until 2020. And I remember thinking, I never heard of it. It was made popular by people that understood fragrances and appreciated the fact that this is a really good, inexpensive vanilla, and the price ballooned. I am not kidding. At one point when it was hard to get, it ballooned to $100 American, even before, you know, this recent inflation with fragrances. Fragrance number 6 is brought to you by a buddy of mine. He's got a ton of fragrances, a ton of expensive fragrances. He likes expensive fragrances, but he won't touch clones. I was walking him through the YSL line of fragrances the other day. He was asking for a little bit of advice, and he really liked the sound of Baby Cat. And who wouldn't? Because he liked the vanilla leather combo. Now, I didn't say anything to him about Rifaqaat because I knew he wouldn't have listened. He ended up spending, I think, $35 US on a 5 milliliter decant, tries it out before he buys it. But you know what? For that same price, you could have bought an entire bottle of Rifaqaat. And my God, Rifaqaat, other than one small detail, is very, very close to Baby Cat. Now, the small detail is the fact that what you're getting here is essentially vanilla leather, and then you're getting a lot of fresh resins that give it a little bit of refinement. The fresh resins kind of, it's like make it, I always use the same word, make it sparkle a little bit on the top. It smells expensive. That dies down faster in this than it does in Baby Cat. But other than that, it's the same thing. Some people have correctly pointed out that there is no leather in Rifaqaat, but there is in Baby Cat. That really boils down to one thing. Leather, if you look at the fragrance wheel, is considered to be a dry wood. It's very similar, or it can be done in a very similar way to cedar, but cedar's a lot cheaper. And so this has cedar instead of leather, but it's still got the vanilla element. It's very sweet. It's very strong. It lasts forever. And yeah, I mean, underappreciated by people who, you know, won't go in the cologne direction. Sometimes that's a mistake. The most underrated fragrance in terms of quality on the market, to me anyway, bar none, I don't think it's close, is the Dreamer by Versace. Versace wanted to create a fragrance that was a more elegant version of Jean-Paul Gaultier's Le Male, and they did it. Instead of using mint and lavender, they used kind of more exotic notes to get the herbal feel, like Artemisia and tarragon. So it's a different kind of herbal feel. Instead of using vanilla, they use amber. They use tobacco blossom, which gives it to prop up the flax and the iris to give it more of a floral feel. So this is a more sophisticated version of Le Male. Smells similar, but it goes about it in a very different way. Really good performance. It's ridiculous that it's only $30. I mean, it's only going to be appreciated by people that understand and appreciate quality, right? So when I first got into fragrances, I didn't understand what the hell I was doing. I didn't know what high quality meant. And I do now. I appreciate this more and more. It is a very high quality fragrance. And if quality is your bag, pick up the Dreamer. Now, I mentioned Encre Noir earlier, and I have to talk about my favorite Encre Noir, which is Encre Noir à l'Extrême, and it's my favorite just for one reason. It's got that benzoin note. It's got a little bit of ambery feel. I've said that 1,000 times, but I really like it because I find my sport version is too fresh. That cypress note mixes with the citrus, and it's just, I think that's really the sport version is the extreme version. I think this is the least extreme because the ambery note tones down that super fresh cypress feel. I mean, I like the earthiness of the original as well, but I like this the best. I do like, you know, a little bit of sweetness, and it's got an ambery feel, and it's got good performance too. So yeah, this is more for experienced fragrance people and people experience in general. And yeah, I guess that's why I do this, you know, to give advice. So if you've watched the channel, hopefully you've learned a little bit and help you out next time. And you can be a little different and so hopefully a little better when you get your fragrances. Thanks for watching.